Hi everyone, this is a mini video all about the Appy's retro scalar, which is basically the heart of the retro side of this monitor. I'm going to try and keep this short as possible, but again I've got a balance between that and being in depth. So as you can see on these two monitors, this is going through RGB SCAR from my Amiga. And you can see it also you can see if you look to here, there you can see the HDMI output from the monitor, which is one of the really special features of this monitor. You can take whatever's on the screen and it outputs it to the display. Now it's important to understand what you're seeing there is 1280 by 1024 60 Hertz. It's just the way it works, okay? But it's outputting that to a capture card and then going into the monitor and being displayed. So let's get away from that. The Scalar is basically a plug-in board that goes into the monitor, okay? And what it does is it takes a 15 kilohertz old retro signal either through SCART, okay, RGB SCART, or through RGBI, which is this little 9-pin, which is most of you won't recognise, but that's like CGA and EGA and Commodore 128 outputs, some other displays. And this has a load of circuitry, so basically this little chip here converts to CGA and EGA, okay, so you don't really have to worry about that, but it all goes into this big chip, which is the main chip, which is the TrueView. And what that does is it upscales it. It converts 15 kilohertz up to 31 kilohertz so that it will work over VGA. Okay, I'm not going to give you an explanation of VGA. You need to look that up separately. But it then allows it, because VGA works as standard as 31 kilohertz. So this is why it's called an upscaler. Okay, and what it will do is it will then output to the panel. Now. When there is a bit of confusion. So this is the Scalar. Now normally it will come with a small board that has component inputs on a mezzanine board, and that comes as standard. Now that's a standard board, and I think it's around £89, something like that. Some people are getting confused, thinking that the next part, which is the S video. And the RF, which is this top board, if you can see. Yeah, it's got a top mezzanine board. Okay. And what that is here, this is RF. And this is like a 45, 50 pound extra board. So this is RF, so you can put in anything with a TV aerial, that kind of thing. Can plug in and you can use it. It's got a TV tuner system built into it. And there's S video over here. Now the S video obviously has got the audio inputs as well, so anything that outputs S video you can use with this add-on board. And again, here's your component, which is your three phonos for red, green, and blue. That's your component, not composite. So the one thing you will notice on the Scalar, if I show you this one again, one thing you will notice on the Scalar is there's this connector. In fact, I just showed you on this one. There's a little board here. This is called GBS control. Now this is the firmware that controls the TrueView chip and adds a whole load of features that are really quite cool, which I'll cover in a minute. Anyway, so the way the system works is, as you're probably aware, there is a back plane. Slot 0 goes in the bottom slot, always in the bottom slot. Don't put it in any other slot. So that's in the bottom slot, but it has an external VGA connector. So that's kind of one channel. When you go up to the next slot, technically they can have 2 channels each. Sorry about the pinging. And so this will sit in one, and it will basically take up a couple of channels. They theoretically have 4. On the remote control is a VGA button. If you press the VGA buttons, it will switch and it will go and find it. Now, if you've got the S video and RF board that you've purchased as an add-on, they do come combined. If you're a backer, you have the option to buy just the scalar with the component added. And you can buy the S-Video separately if you don't want it. However, all future customers and pre-orders, if they want this board, it comes complete. Okay? So, but it's important to understand that this board's about £145 with the S-Video, and that one's about 85, 89, something like that. It's a lot cheaper. But not everyone needs that full system. Anyway, so we have to work on multiple channels. Now, what you can see here is I've pressed VGA and it's gone to the first one, and the first one is always the RF because the RF uses the VGA channel. I'm not really talking about the S-Video, but the S-Video uses HDMI 6 normally. Okay, so it's not on the VGA bus. The component is on the VGA bus, but I've not got anything plugged into it. So if I press VGA again, it will go hunting to find something. And what it's going to find, you see it comes up with SCT for SCART, and that's now pinged straight into the Amiga. Now, if you had something also plugged into the RGBI, then you would be able to switch to that. Now, that's if you press the VGA button, it kind of auto senses and tries to find the signal. But you can manually step through. So you can, if you look above, there's a channel button here, and you can step through if you press it once. Now, you'll notice each time you do that, this little board at the bottom here resets itself. So the first one is that. Second one, you can see it's reset itself. We do that we need to reset it. Right, now that's empty. That's because that's the external VGA. What we got here? RGB. So this will be the 9-pin. That's what that one's for. And there's nothing on it, so it's not displaying. So I press it again. Nothing on that one. And the next one, as you can see, it flashed up. And this is the output from the Amiga's RGB to SCART. Now it has to be, well, technically the SCART should be RGB. But some cables, some SCART cables only have composite. And so I get people saying to me, but Steve, it's not showing anything. Okay, now if you don't have any RGB on that cable, this is why I always say we're at the mercy of cables. People then instantly blame the monitor when actually it can be their cable. I bought cables and they just turned up, they says RGB SCART and it turns up and it's composite only. Very important to understand. Now, this one, not sure if it's got, no, I don't think it does have. But if I press that button there, can you see it's AV1, AV2, AV3, AV4? Now, AV1 and 2 are the two composites clusters on the back of the monitor. 3 and 4 are on the back plane and are hidden. Now, by default, if you plug a cable into this, which has composite on the SCART, sometimes they have RGB and composite. But if you have one with composite on it, it will usually be AV3. Okay, so if you're having problems and you can't see any RGB, just check on that. Now, if you're not putting anything into the composite, yeah, let's bear that in mind. So this is what I'm saying, we're at the mercy of the cables. Let's go back to here. Let's go find it. Here we go. So it's come up, says SCART, it sensed it, brings the Amiga back up again. Okay, so something that's quite interesting. When we originally put this together, we had a special mode made, which was, if I go onto the little, you're probably going to struggle to see this, but if down the bottom here is a little display, if I press on the resolutions, it gives me a load of resolution. So I switch down, I'm going to switch it to 576. Okay, so now you can see that is in a custom mode that we had made, which was 724 by 566 or 724 by 480, I think it is. That was custom designed for us. But what I didn't realise was, one of the problems was that that's how I believed that the Scalar, the GPS control worked. I've since learned that it actually upscales much better. So you may not be able to notice, but it's a bit softer. So For now, if you go back, by default, this thing should load. If you go to 1280, now this is a weird resolution, just try, bear with me on this. Go to 1280 by 720 and press that. It will now display it, but it'll be a lot sharper. That's because it's scaled to that resolution. Now, important to understand, it will look sharper, but also the reason for it is, if I press info, you can see it's at 50 Hertz. Yeah, right at the bottom there. 1280, 720, 50 Hertz. The problem we have at the moment, and this is only at the moment, it's going to be fixed soon, is that the 1280, 1024 and the 1024 by 768 modes don't have a 50 Hertz frequency mode. Yeah, it's just firmware, because I didn't realize about this. So you'll find when you do an upgrade, you're probably going to be able to select that, and it'll automatically come in 1280, 960 probably at 50 Hertz, and that will look absolutely outstanding. At the moment, it's just taking it into a 1280 and the monitor's scaling it, but because it's got all them extra pixels, it's a lot sharper. So this display is going to be sharpened up even more. That's just a mistake that I made in the early days, because I always thought it looked fantastic, and it does. This just makes it look even better. Anyway, so that's the resolution side of things. So basically, this will, if you go and have a look on my main monitor video, the good, the bad and the ugly, and go to the end, you'll see a whole load of samples on different platforms and how this works. You can see on this monitor over here, this one's running at 1280 by 960 at 60 Hertz. So it has 60 Hertz, okay, and that's what this outputs at. So this the Apple looks absolutely fantastic. So if you're wondering why, just switch it to 1280 by 720 and it will ping if you're doing 50 Hertz display. Again, we will sort this out. This is just something I wasn't aware of, and I've learned. One of the good things about this is once it goes out that everyone can literally help. It turns out one of the guys is actually part of the team that created the GBS node, so it's just correcting me, which has been great. I know some people see this as a negative. Well, I'm not losing sleep over that, because at the end of the day, we just want to make this as good as it possibly can be. And it is going to be improving all the time. Key takeaway from this is you must have a good quality cable. If you have got a rubbish cable with really bad shielding, you're going to get noise. You can see by this, if you're looking at this, that it actually looks pretty good. To be honest, it looks fantastic. Okay, now I don't want to put animation on it, because if I show you the animation, because it's output into the capture card at 60 Hertz, right? Because it's just why I've got it all set up. You're going to see the animation jitter. On here, it's absolutely silky smooth. Right, I have to turn that one off because they'll both be putting up access points. Right, so I'm going to, now I've logged in, this is my Wi-Fi and my iPad. I'm going to select GBS control, because this has, as you can see, that little node there, okay, where my finger is at the top, actually has a web server built into it. Okay, so you can't see it, but it's connected to GBS control, so it's connected to that. Now, some people are having issues with connecting to it. That's going to be a local issue. It's not going to be the GBS control. Usually, if you move it somewhere else where it's less noisy, you know, if you've got lots of stuff competing, it's not the most powerful. It's a tiny little board. Okay, give it a chance. If you put it up over here, if you go next to the monitor, it's probably better. But some people are having the odd issues with it. But that would be your situation in your house. Too much noise. Move it to another room, and where there's less electronics. Right. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Chrome on here, and I'm going to search GBS control. And as you can see, okay, as you can see, now this one in here is actually, yours will only have one preset probably set up. This has got a lot. But what it's basically got here is a control panel, okay? And this is in the documentation, but this is the secret, because you can now go in And I can say, oh, I want to do some editing, so I can click on here. You can see I've got auto gain turned on. Well, you probably can't see. But also I've got these controls here, so you can see it's move, scale, and borders. Now, it should have pinged in. Don't be confused with this. It's because now this is where you have to understand the old machines. This is overscan, okay? So it's black. There's nothing there. This display is just in the main. If you want to put it into overscan, you can select overscan and it will use that area. So the monitor will scale it to fit. But this will allow me to move it. So if you watch that there, you can see it moving. Yeah? I can scale it. I can borders, so I can blank off any noise. You get some around the edges, sometimes you get a bit of noise, you can cover them up. And so you can scale it all nicely. This one, we can have scan lines. So scan lines on, so now you should be able to see on the display there. You won't see on here because it's too far away, but if I press it again, get a different, I can turn it off. Yeah. And then I can change the intensity. Yeah, so I can get scan lines. Right. And I've got line filters. There's a whole load of other things. Let me turn off the scan lines because I don't like them. In here, there's a whole load of stuff. You need to look into this yourself. This is not a demonstration on that. There's more here. And here you've got things like the recent. Now, I would say you can log this into your network, onto your Wi-Fi hub, and then you can access it directly from the IP address. Problem with that is once you've done that, it's actually, if you can't connect to it for whatever reason, you've then lost it, and resetting it's a pain. So I would suggest just leave it like this, but it's there if you need it. Once you go back to here now, if you want to, you can make your own custom profiles here, and then you can select save preset, give it a name. If you give it a different name, it will create a new preset. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to. I've got quite a few set up here for Toshiba because my Toshiba, which goes in the RGBI, has a completely different layout, and I can scale. So I can just basically create profiles. Now, the fun thing is, all these profiles are now available down in this little display. So if I go back and I go to presets, you can't see this. I don't even know what I'm showing you, but you've got options. You've got options for different presets. Okay, let me just go back. Now, so that's the reason why we put this on every single monitor, so you've got it. So that's how you'll do that. Again, this is not, an intent. If you want to know more about GPS control, there's a lot of resources out there will tell you all about it. But that allows you to modify it and tweak it accordingly. Now, what we've tried to do is, out of the box, when you turn it on, as long as you've got a good cable, plug it in, it should just ping, right? The key thing is to make sure that you set it 1280 by 720. That's your, at the moment, that's the one you want to go for, and that will make it ping. It does seem it's counterintuitive because that's a widescreen and this is not. It just happens, just trust me on this, it works better. One really cool thing about this, on the last tab, is a backup and restore function. So what you can do is you can back it up. I'm not going to go through the details where it stores it. You've got to find it. And sometimes this is better to use on a PC than on an iPad. But once you've got it all configured exactly how you want it, you can back it up to your hard drive, and you can go find that, that file, and you can share it with your friends. So if you've got other friends who've got one of these, or you want to put it online, if you've got a really good setup and you've got them named, right? You've got, like, for example, I've got on mine, I've got Archimedes, I've got like my CGA and EGAs. So if you've got a few of them all laid out, ready to go for people with the tweaks and so on, you can share them with your friends. The other good thing is, of course, it's a backup. So that when you want to, if you mess it up, you can restore it. Okay, so that's actually a really nice little feature. One more thing to insert into the editing. And this relates to the GPS control firmware. Now, when we did this, the firmware doesn't change very often. And so during this entire project, it's been the same firmware. So I kind of thought it was fairly static, and that was it. So we did our firmware, I don't know, before the late. There's a new version released. This is the bottom line. There's a brand new version that's been released. I'm not updating any of this batch of 2000 because we've already made, set up, and everything's ready to go. If you want to, before you ask, no, you won't be able to order a new one with the latest firmware on it. This is something you can do yourself. We might later on, like in a year or something, I don't know. But this version is set in stone. Now you can update it, right? You can update it with the latest version. You do need to be confident. Because you need to connect this to the Arduino suite of software, and you need to download the software from GitHub. You need to then just plug it into this on your computer on this little. You take that out. Well, actually, no, I'm coming to that. You need to plug it into your computer and upgrade the firmware. Put a new firmware on it, and then it'll all be good. Now, it's really important. Do not upgrade this one. Don't. If you try to do it and you say, oh, I'm going to can you send me a new one, I'm going to say no. Do not upgrade this one. The reason is they only cost about £5 or $5. Okay, if you want to know where they come from, you can. They're on Discord. People will tell you. It's just called a node. It's just called a node. EC. Oh, whatever it is. It's a node. It's a little firmware controller. Okay, they cost less than £5. Right, so you can buy a new one, get it from Amazon, get it from eBay, get it from wherever you like, download it, reprogram it. Once you've reprogrammed it, you can swap it out. Make sure you put it the right way round. Okay, USB goes that way. It tells you on the board how to plug it in. But the latest version has got a load of extra features built into it. But also the web server side apparently is working a bit better because sometimes it's tricky to connect. It works. I've got loads of stuff in here and it's working fine, but I know some people are having issues, but other people who said they were having issues have said move it to another room and it should be okay. But yeah, just buy, don't be a cheapskate, spend a £5, buy another, program that, put this one somewhere safe, swap it, and it's all good. If you want to take this board out on the warranty, look, you know, this is designed for makers, okay? But just be careful when you pull the board out, okay? If you've got the S video and you've got the cable, don't yank it out and rip the board to bits with the cable. There's a HDMI cable. The only cable connecting this is the HDMI, goes to the Scalar. Pull this out carefully, okay? It's got little handles, you can pull it back, because as you can see, this doesn't have the frame on it. Pull it out gently, disconnect the S video cable if you've got it, and then just pull it out and you can do it. So that's the main thing with the Scalar. Hopefully that will give you some advice you need. It's been an awful lot of work. It's about its 8th generation. It took us a long time to perfect this and get everything we wanted on it. Most people have ordered it with the S video. If you don't need S video, it's fine. It comes with component. You don't need it. It's all good. But there you go. I'll do a separate video on the S video board another time. But hopefully for now that's answered any questions.